Welcome back to the shop. It's been almost 3 weeks that I've been out here doing anything. It's been kind of a rough time. Not really feeling so good today either, but wanted to try and force myself to come out here and get some stuff done anyway. So we're in the shop again, working on the, not the Mustang, it's the GTO this time. Still got a lot of stuff to do on the Mustang, but I got a few things I wanted to get done on the GTO in the meantime. It's still July. It's still hot, so deal with the shirt that I'm wearing, Rob. I don't got air conditioning in here. One of the things we did when we built the GTO originally, knew it was going to be a street and strip car, put polyurethane bushings in everywhere. Greased them like you're supposed to, but these aren't bushings that had grease zerks on them. They weren't greasable bushings, so we just greased them, stuck everything in. And at the time I didn't realize that you really should use marine grease because marine grease is a lot more waterproof, lasts a lot longer. So it's been like 15 years. The grease that we put in here now has kind of dried out. And as a result, the car makes a bunch of horrible squeaky noises. And horrible and embarrassing squeaky noises. So want to try and get some grease on the bushings to try and get rid of that noise. Now again, they're not greasable, so the plan is to try and loosen off all the bushings. I got a needle adapter for my grease gun. We're going to try and squeeze the needle in between the sides of the bushings and the mounting brackets, suspension mounting brackets. Try and squeeze some grease in there and then try and maybe jump up and down on the car for a while and see if we can't get the grease to eventually find its way to where it needs to be to get rid of the embarrassing squeaking. So that's the plan. Let's get the car up in the air. Let's get underneath it. Let's get stuff loosened off. Let's, get some grease in there. So the goal here is to try and get some grease between the outside face of the bushing and the inside face of the mounting brackets on both sides of the bushing, both front and back for each side of the control arms on both sides of the car. Now, if I just grab this thing and I yank it up and down, it sure sounds like the driver's side rear is the one that's making the most noise. So we're going to go after that one first, and if we're lucky, if we can get enough grease around that one and it stops making embarrassing noises, then we don't have to worry about the rest of them for maybe another 10 years or whatever. But step one is to get the wrenches on it and loosen it up and see if we can get a little bit of space between the bushing and the mounting bracket. So okay, that's good because I can actually see a bit of a gap in there. Let's see if we can get the camera to show that. So if you look on the inside, if we got enough light in there, you can see the gap. So we'll grease that gap. So it's a couple days later, still feeling like crap today, but I had to bail out the other night, ran out of energy. So I managed to get some grease in some of the bushings, but it's a bit better, but clearly it's still got some way to go. So I showed you that we got a little bit of a gap when I loosen these things off, and the gap is on the insides of the control arm. The outsides are staying right tight to the frame. So I've tried to take a flat screwdriver and get in there and try and pry some gap in there and try and stick the needle in from the grease gun, but it didn't seem like, well, well, clearly it wasn't working enough. So what we're going to try and do today is the insides where there's gap, stick the needle in 4 places, you know, far up as I can get on both sides, and then down towards the bottom on both sides, and try and get a lot of grease in as much as I can all the way around. And then on the outsides, we're going to drill a couple of channels. So we'll drill through, you know, the face of the bushing on the outside, which gives us kind of a grease channel, and we'll do that on both sides of the bolt, and again try and go as deep as we can so we can try and get grease all the way to the top. So let's grease the insides first, then we'll get to drilling, and then grease the outsides. So we'll get our grease gun, and you can see I've bent my needle already. And try and extend the drill bit out a little bit, so I can go a bit deeper. Okay, and I've got polyurethane all over me now. Now, the problem is on the other side of the bolt is kind of inside where the frame is, so that's going to be a bit more of a challenge to get a hole in there, but let's try. And here's where I need a really long bit, and I don't have one. Anyway, let's see if I can show you what we got done there. Well, I don't know if you can see it, but there's a bit of a hole right there, and then there's a hole on the other side too, so I'm going to try and put some grease in there as the goal. Let's see if that helps. You know, it actually starts to sound like it's squeaking from the upper control arm bushings now, which aren't polyurethane, but they're Moroso non-serrated. So yeah, I don't know how I'm going to try and get grease into those, but this side still needs grease, so we'll get in there and goop these ones like I just did the other side. Alright, we've got both sides greased. Insides where there was a bit of a gap, I could squeeze a needle in there. And on the outsides where I drilled little grease channels on the face of the bushing. So pumped a whole lot of grease in there to where it was oozing out everywhere and all over me. Hopefully not all over the camera. And we've got prevailing torque nuts on all of these bushings. So what I'm actually going to do is we're going to leave them loose. The nuts aren't going to fall off because they're lock nuts. But we're going to leave the bushings loose, and we're going to go for a drive, try and find some bumps, some train tracks or whatever, and see if we can't work the grease in as much as possible all the way around the bushing, and then I'll tighten everything back up. And we'll start looking at the upper bushings and see if there's anything that I might be able to do there. Actually, I'll take out, one sec. We're going to get all scientific here. We'll actually use the stethoscope, I can never say that word, to probe the upper bushings and see if there is indeed squeaking coming from the upper control arm bushings. So we get the car on the ground, do my doctor routine, and see what we can find out up there. So hang tight. All right, we're going to see what we can do with this. All right, front one on this side is definitely squeaking. So yeah, it's probably safe to assume that all of them probably need some kind of grease. So we'll pull the bolt off, have a look in there and see what our options are to try and get some grease in there. But those bolts are in there with a red Loctite because they kept wanting to back out on their own as I went down the road, and before Drag Week 2017 I Loctited them in there because I didn't want them falling out on the highway. So that'll add a little bit of a challenge, I guess, to get those things out. Let's see how it goes. Yeah, that's not gonna make enough torque with that. Let's get the big boy impact wrench. I said big boy, but we're using the medium boy impact wrench first. Medium boy for the win. All right. Well, let's take you in for a closer look. That's what we're looking at. So I don't know if it's squeaking on the inside or the outside, but we're going to see if we can't jam the needle in the inside and get some grease in there and see if that makes a difference. So there wasn't a whole lot of opportunity to get grease in to the front or the outsides here. Try and shine some light down there. But what I did do is on the inside, let's see if I can get a camera in there where you can see it. Yeah, get the camera and get the light. Hard to do both. How about that? No, still not. There maybe. No, you're getting the camera or the light, but anyway. Managed to squeeze a little bit of grease on the shafts on the inside of the upper bushings. I don't know if it's going to go anywhere. I don't know if it's going to go into the bushings or not. But it's better than nothing, so I figured I'd give that a try. And it actually seems like on the passenger side anyway, it's reduced the squeaking a little bit. So at this point, we're going to put all the hardware back in there, not tighten everything up completely tight, but tight enough that it's not going to fall out, and take it for a drive. Again, try and work the grease around and hope for the best. So hang tight. So it's not 100%. You can still hear it squeaking a bit, but it's way better than it was before. And for small displacements, it's not making any noise at all anymore now, which is great, because before, even just driving over tar strips or speed bumps, it would squeak away. It was really embarrassing. So I'm not as embarrassed to drive the car now. Still got to change the gears in the transmission so they don't make as much noise, and I got to replace the bushings. The body bushings, that's probably going to be the next project, so watch for a future video, but we'll end this one here now. We'll leave this thing loose, the bushings loose, for a few more days, try and get the grease to work itself around a little bit more before I tighten it up. But yeah, we're going to call this a partial success anyway. So thanks for watching. Like, comment, subscribe, share with your friends, and we'll see you on the next one.